quantum computer, and then potential plus point as well as minus point that can arise with the quantum era. So let's focus on quantum computer by and large. So when you talk about quantum computers, one of the very interesting topic that people are talking at this point of time is, now if you look at the security of internet, so you have all these encryptions, advanced encryption technologies, and then there are different ways of encryption keys getting exchanged. When you encrypt the data, what you do is basically, let's say that I want to share my name with you in a secure manner. So my name is Nirosh. If I just change N, or rather I have Nirosh, and then in between N and I, if I just put a 1, and then I and R, I put 2, and then R and O, I put 3, and O and S, I put 4. Now I use 1, 2, 3, 4 to change my name, and then I share it with you. And when somebody look at that, you don't have Nirosh, the Nirosh, but instead you have Nirosh together with some additional numbers in between those characters. By looking at that itself, a human can recognize, okay, this should be Nirosh, because there are integers and characters, so that it's easy to separate that. But if you use much more complex algorithm to embed that key into that Nirosh name, let's say as an example, instead of I embed 1 in between N and I, if I just add a character to N, so that it is not just N and 1, but rather instead of N, I just put N plus 1 character into that place.
Yeah, it could be a non-visible character, non-visible ASCII character.
Or rather, it could be just for simplicity, you have A, B, C, D, P, Q, R, S, L, M, N, L, M, N, O. So that instead of N, instead of N, you put O.
Okay.
Then it's very difficult to guess for a typical human. So likewise, there are ways of embedding certain keys into the data, so that is where the encryption comes into play. So that there is a key associated with that. So those keys can be predicted if you have enough computational power.
Okay.
Try different things and then identify that. There are ways of identifying those keys. Now, with a quantum computer in place, some of those computations that a classical computer need to do in a sequential manner can be done in a different way, so that some of those keys that we use in most advanced encryption algorithms, a supercomputer would say take 1 billion years to predict the key by comparing various things and then trying it to see whether it can make sense out of your data point. Then it take about 1 billion years. Whereas if you take a quantum computer, a typical quantum computer can guess that key within like 8 to 10 minutes.
Okay.
Now that's not the risk. Now at this point of time, the quantum computers are not in commercially available. But if you just start collecting all this data, travel through the internet at this point of time. Now you share your credit card in an encryption form, but you just acknowledge that data, but you can't make sense out of that data at this point of time. But you just collect that and keep it in a server. And then by the time the quantum computer is commercially available, you start tracking these data. Now imagine the threat. So that's where the threat is.
So what stage are these quantum computers are? Like, are they in a beta stage?
There are few problems facing quantum computers at this point of time. If you look at the Cambridge quantum computers, this is a research done by Cambridge University. At this point of time, they have a photon quantum computer. Okay, I'll explain that a bit before I go into that level of detail. when it comes to quantum computers, what it uses, instead of bit, it uses qubits. Now, what is a qubit? Based on your understanding, just tell me what is a qubit? How you understand a qubit?
Qubit.
Yes, that's what quantum computer use. I'll explain that as well, so that you can just get a glimpse of what qubit is.
Okay.
Qubit is, imagine an electron being centrally attached to a magnet at the core. So you imagine a spear now. And then at the center or the core of the spear, you have some kind of a magnet. And this electron is attached or attracted by this magnet, so that it can move within that sphere now. So it just moves around the surface of this sphere, because that you're being attracted. And if you separate all these external forces from that electron, then that itself is a qubit.
That itself is a qubit. Oh, okay. So
that's a qubit now.
So basically, like today, when I say normal digital computing, if you just double click and go, the final unit of operation is a 1 or a 0. In
Yes.
your case, it becomes those multiple electrons. Like say, for example, I will say in one sphere there will be 50 electrons. So it is like that 50 electrons is a basic computation.
One electron. In a one sphere, it is going to be one electron.
It can be 4 different stages. So I think that is where the qubit or the quant comes from. Is there can be 4 different stages of the same.
I'll get to that. That's very interesting. That's where the complication comes. So that at this point of time, Cambridge quantum computing has 4 qubit computers. That's called Iron Bridge server. So they have a 4 qubit server. That's all. And we're going to use that for something. And as Deepak said, the interesting part of a qubit is, now this electron is moving around the sphere, so that you don't have a position of that electron. It just moves here and there, so that it can be at the top portion of the sphere at a time, or bottom portion of a sphere at a different time. So that how are you going to make use of this? So that's the problem. So that these are the kind of challenges that quantum computer at this point of time has. And then there are some applications, very interesting applications as well, which we will describe as we move on. Now, do you all understand what a qubit is now?
Yeah.
So that the qubit is that it can be an electron or a photon as well, now centrally attracted, so that it's move around that sphere, so that it can position wherever it wants on the sphere at a given time. So
instead of just 0 and 1, that unit can have multiple values.
Multiple values. Now,
okay.
Let's assume that for simplicity, if that particular electron is positioned toward the top portion of the sphere, you just cut across through the center of the sphere and put a layer, and then if you find that electron toward the top portion of that, then you say it is a 1.
Okay.
And if it is bottom portion of the sphere, then you say it is a 0. In order for you to make sense out of a qubit, you need to pass it through some kind of a gate and then convert it to a bit at this point of time. So you don't know how to use it else, because we don't understand qubits. That's the challenge we have at this point of time, to map qubit into normal computers and make sense out of that. So the only way you can do that is pass it through some kind of a gate and then map it to a bit. So that let's get to a business application of this solution next. But before that, maybe if you have any questions around qubits, you guys can ask them. Very interesting business applications are there.
Okay. So from the last part that you said, right, is there is a physical state that is happening. Now, transferring
Kumaran, before you move ahead,
yeah,
I really like the dumb questions, like not the intelligent questions, but anybody can ask very dumb questions.
I am qualified to ask dumb questions, okay?
I want you to ask dumb questions.
Yeah, I think, for anybody, right? So basically in this thing, I'm just trying to understand this in another way. Like, so for example, right, if I say arigato, right? No, arigato is a word that exists in Japanese for people who don't understand it. So they have to convert it to English, and then only they can understand what is being said. So
Yes.
similarly, what is happening in Electron is Japanese now. We don't know to use process Japanese as Japanese itself. We have to
Yes.
convert it to English to process it. So what you're telling is I have to convert that electron movement into a 0 and 1 before I can make use of it, because that's the only way I know how to work with technology today. Am I correct?
Yes. And from computational power, now this particular bit, if you take a computer bit, it can have one state at a given time. Now this one is moving here and there, so that it can be 0 as well as 1 if you want. So that
Okay.
it effectively exponentially increase the computational power.
Okay.
Because every bit has this power of appearing in two states at a given time, so that the computational power is 2 to the power number of bits you have. I don't go into a lot of detail there, but just imagine that it's exponentially increasing based on the number of qubits you have. So that 4 qubit computer is a very powerful computer. So 10-bit computer has 4 qubits.
To get that point a little more clear, right? I think it's very fundamental. So if you take one bit, it can store only two values, right?
Yes.
So if I take one qubit, what are the possible range of values that it can have?
In qubit form, in quantum world, it can have any value. So let's say that it's now pointing at the top edge or the polar of this sphere. I'll say that that's one. And if it is pointing at the bottom polar or the south pole of the sphere, then it is, let's say, -1. So in between 1 and -1, in a 2D plane, it can have any value. Now you're talking about 3D plane.
Okay.
But those values are not being effectively used in computer because you don't know how to use that. That's the challenge you have at this point of time.
Okay.
But in order for us to make sense out of that, what you do is you just pass a qubit through a gate, and then at this point of time, if it is at, let's say, holding its position at the north pole, then you say, okay, this is a 1 now. But now in the next second, it can be -1 as well. Now, how are you going to make sense out of that? What are the business application of that? That's the beauty of this. And there are like very creative ways of applying this phenomena into solve some of those most complex problems we have today. So I'll get to that next. But before that, if you have any questions around qubits, ask those questions. I know it is very difficult to ask questions as well when you explain it this way.
Yeah,
okay, yeah. I'll explain you one business application. This is what we're going to also use. Now, this qubit has a very interesting property. That is, it's a natural phenomena where you can create entanglement, which means, you know that we talk about this parallel universe concept, where you have this positive aspect here, whereas somewhere else the negative aspect exists. So that if you combine the two, nothing is there. It's 0.
But this is philosophy and spirituality.
But yes, but it has come to life with quantum entanglement, where it's so unusual and it can't be explained as well how it happened. Right now, I have never read anywhere which explain how this happened, but what it says is, this is a business application, this is real, this happened at this point of time, the prototype is developed. What it says is, you can basically create a positive aspect of a photon as well as a negative aspect of a photon, and then create entanglement. What this entanglement is, let's say that this positive aspect of the photon is at this point of time position itself a photon at the north edge of the sphere, then the other counterpart or the twin of that position the totally opposite of this photon position, that is south pole. And then if it is east pole, then the other one will position at west pole. So likewise, a natural phenomena, so that this both of them keep changing its position, but one maintain the total opposite of the other one. That's the entanglement. This is a natural phenomena, and this has been proven, and it's been used, and this is on business application as well at this point in time. Do you understand that?
No.
So I've heard of quantum entanglement used in science fiction, right? So
Yeah.
it's used in science fiction to have two exact things talking to each other which are far apart, and there's no actual physical communication, but they're entangled together, right? And they can communicate without actually having physical medium in between them. That's what entangled in the science fiction world is.
So from a kid's perspective, right, or a very naive analogy, I would say, is it something like a master and a record connected without a key?
I don't understand that question.
Okay,
actually.
so typically we have master-child relationships in databases, no?
Right. Yes.
Okay, I know. See, as I'm telling this, I know this is a very naive understanding of that. Okay, but let's say we connect a master record and a child record with a key, foreign key.
Yes.
Okay, but imagine I could make a statement. I can have a master-child relationship without a key.
Right. This is whatever you said. Make it plus. Then the quantum entanglement. It has the relationship, but the beauty is not the relationship. The positioning of the electron or the photon. So they maintain totally opposite, guaranteed every time. And then they're changing its position every second, every millisecond. But then they communicate so fast, faster than light they say, so that their positions are totally opposite every time.
Okay, so give me I mean, like you were talking about some examples, right? Maybe that will help us understand a little bit more about the application.
Now imagine a ball. Okay.
What is it?
A ball. Imagine a football.
Football. Okay.
Yes. And on top of this football, a tiny insect is walking.
Okay.
Here and there, it's random positions. So it just moves so fast so that you can, at a given time, you know that, okay, now it's moving toward the north pole. Now it is moving toward the east. Now it's moving toward the south. So something like that. And then there is another insect, a twin insect of this on the other ball as the other sphere. That guy knows where this guy is heading. And then he always maintains the totally opposite position of this guy.
Okay.
It's a small ant. Now, if you look at a given time, they are so fast and so aware of each other without a medium. We don't know how they communicate. Don't worry about that part. But at a given point, if this guy is moving from east to north, the other guy is moving from east to west to south.
I think it gives me goosebumps. I think it's in that multiverse and string theory, right? It's kind of related to that.
Yes. It comes from. I think it comes from that high energy particle physics.
Yes.
Yeah,
this comes. Yes, you are right. These things are like in an era. These things were in science fictions. But you know that science fiction has a science base always. So if you look at Arthur C. Clarke, when he talk about all these fictions in 70s and 50s, now they have come to realize that they're not actually fictions, that they're actually possible. So that this is why Elon Musk always refers to Arthur C. Clarke. I have seen him always refers to Arthur C. Clarke's fiction.
You know the most famous statement from Arthur Clarke. It says, "Any technology sufficiently advanced will appear like magic to you."
Yes, that's exactly right. Now this is magic.
This is exactly magic, actually.
and I think it's interesting. So there was a naive in one of our groups today morning. One of my peers, right? He had said his son has asked him if all the protons are of the same charge and likes dispel, how come they can be together inside a molecule? Okay, so and it kind of led me to that part when we were children, right? When we learned physics, we learned about the lowest particle is just a proton and a neutron.
Yes.
Now in a 35-year period, it comes that quarks are the smallest particle that's possible. Okay, and within quarks there is some other charge called arc or something, which is again holds them together. Okay,
Yes.
so I think it's kind of interesting to know that the most obvious thing that is said, that what we know definitively is so irrelevant to what is actually happening.
I like to have few questions from other people
Yeah.
as well. Some questions from other people as well around the stuff that we discussed so far.
Nitto has creeped in quietly.
Oh man, Nitho is Joy.
Yeah.
Nitho,
Nitto, can you hear us?
welcome.
Hello.
Nitho?
Ah,
Hi,
hello.
Nitho. Hi man. How
Been
are you?
years, you're still alive. Good to see that you're still alive. So Nirosh was enlightening us on quantum computing and how it'll be applicable. So we are in that discussion now.
Yes.
Okay.
So
Yeah, go on.
there is a thing that we're trying to do with Cambridge Quantum Computer at this point of time. We're working very closely with those people.
Oh.
So that's why I know a lot of things. So this is real. This is not like.
Oh, so from your company you're working with them, is it?
Yes, yes. We are working with.
Thank you. I know somebody who works in quantum computers, not just someone who's read one blog post on that. Thank you. I feel good.
So, I mean, when I get into a call with these people, I mean, you have like 15, 16 PhD holders, knows nth level detail of quantum computers and quantum, but then has zero knowledge around business application. So
Wow.
that's where the challenge is. So we need to apply it to some solve some business problems. So that's where the problem comes. So that I'll explain one interesting
So
challenge.
there's some others who had joined you. Nishant works with IBS in Trivandrum. Dilip, I said, was with Cognizant. Ram has joined. Ram still in Virtusa.
Yeah, you know.
So any of you have doubts on the basics of quantum computers before Nirosh goes on to give us some examples of its application? To give a background, like, is it that you have started working with the university to develop some applications? Is that the business context to the thing?
No. They have a quantum computer at this point of time, so that they have spin-off a business unit called Cambridge Quantum Computer.
Okay.
That's a business entity. So that they have IronBridge server, which has 4-qubit photon Cambridge computer. Photon 4-qubit quantum computer. They have developed that, and there is a IBM is at this point of time using it to generate truly random keys.
Okay.
So when you say keys, there are key generation algorithms. There are ways of maybe putting
pseudo random.
Yes. So putting those things into some kind of a, say, grinder or something, and then mix them together in such a way so that you believe that it is truly random, but they're not actually truly random. That's one of those problems with the keys that we use today.
Correct.
So that one of the business application quantum computer can develop is when it comes to sharing or exchanging keys. Now at this point of time, if you log into this Zoom, so one of the key exchange technique they use is a combination of algorithm called Diffie-Hellman and RSA. So that combination is what used to share keys in between me and Kumaran, as well as Deepak and me, and whatever that communication happened, this is what the key exchange algorithm is. Now, the problem with this key exchange is you share, you exchange a key, and if you have a supercomputer, I'm not going to go into a lot of detail, but there are two factors, prime factors, that you need to identify. If you can break into those two prime factors, one of that is a private key belongs to one guy, so that you can identify and attack the encrypted data if you just break into that portion of the problem. So that what it says is, if you just use a quantum computer, not a computer that basically processes stuff in a sequential manner, to crack into that, then you can identify what these keys are, so that they are meaning that you lose your security. Now, how are you going to exchange a key in a secure manner? How are you going to create a truly random key? Can be solved using a quantum computer. Now we'll get to that detail now.
Okay.
Let's imagine a train has multiple compartments and sequentially moving in a fiber optic cable. So you have first qubit represented the engine of the train, and then you have most of those other qubits coming after the engine, passing from one location to another. Now that particular data set represents a key. Now what are the qualities of that key? That key is every time changing. So you don't know what that key is, because at the time of the start, the engine portion of the sphere may have insect that position at the north pole of itself.
Okay.
Whereas at the next second, you have that insect move towards the south pole, so that it has position somewhere else. So likewise, you have all these compartments or the qubits going one after other, changing its position while it is traveling. Now that key is not static.
Okay.
And then you now use entanglement. Now you have another channel, another fiber optic cable. It has the twin version of this key traveling into another destination. Now you have two trains traveling in a fiber optic cable, each qubit changing its position, but the important phenomena here is the natural phenomena that I explained before. That is, the first qubit always position the totally opposite of the other qubit.
So from a concept perspective, right? I mean, like, just to understand whatever you just said now, because it keeps changing, it is similar to the RSA that authentic thing that we would have, right? It will keep moving. So
Yes.
It's not that I have one pin. The pin keeps shifting, but somebody else knows what it is shifting, right? But that is at an application level. Now, what you're telling is that same pattern at a bit level is also happening.
Yes.
Okay.
Now this is moving in a fiber optic cable, and then imagine now a source that need to share some data with a destination.
Okay.
So you have a source server and a destination server, and now we have a key generator. Now this guy is the one who distributes these two trains through that fiber optic cable. You have, like, let's say that 100 compartment train traveling in two different fiber optic cables, which each compartment represents a qubit, which has itself changing, but then both of them position totally opposite way, so that each one knows where the other guy is. Now they are traveling in that fiber optic cable and then reaching the destination.
Okay.
And if you start reading, now I told you know that if you want to read a qubit, you need to send it through a gate.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
then see whether it is toward the top part or the bottom part. Based on that, you say, okay, this is 0. I mean, it could be anything. I mean, you just define the logic and then say this is 0, this is 1. It can be anything. So that gate can be anything. So don't worry about the gate part. So that now at the destination and the source, the two servers which they need to exchange data, getting these two trains And then they are starting measuring those. And the natural phenomena is nobody knows except the destination server and the source server that what this key is at the time of the measurement.
Okay.
So that you just identify now the first qubit is a 1, second qubit is a 0, 1, 1, 1, 0, 0, 0, 1, 1, 1, and likewise you just keep measuring all these qubits. And the other guy is measuring the totally opposite of this key. Nobody wants now a key exchange. Key being exchanged already, because what you have to do is one guy has to just shift it. If you have 1, you just tweak it to 0. You have the other guy's key now. The key exchange is not required, and a static key is not being exchanged. The key generator never know what the key is here. It is at the destination by the measuring time only the key get defined.
Oh,
that's the power of this.
Okay. Okay, this will take some time to settle in.
Just the fun part is everybody, including AWS, Google, Microsoft, everybody has a version of quantum computing available as a service now. So you can actually,
Yes.
if you really want to go and try something, there is quantum computer service available from all the big cloud vendors.
Yes.
And some of it, I think, if you are doing for research, you can do it for free.
Yes.
I was just reading that Google has a 53 qubit quantum computer. I don't know about Microsoft, but Google was advertising they have achieved what they call as quantum supremacy. Right? I don't know what that thing means, but the result says they have achieved quantum supremacy. So, what is this quantum supremacy? Which
I am also reading about that, but you got me there.
So
I'm not in a position to explain that, but I have an idea, but I don't want to share it because I'm not very sure about that. But,
so my only take on all this thing is quantum computers are going to make this current encryption stuff irrelevant. That is the conclusion which I got to, that the keys can be broken so easily if this service becomes commercially available, that the current encryption schemes don't mean anything. So you'd have to come up with new stuff, which Nirosh is probably trying to explain to us, which we are sort of trying to get. Right. So my conclusion is that he's talking about a technology which will be required in future when quantum computing becomes more readily available to everybody, because then today's encryption won't really matter.
And isn't that so? Basically, in another way, right? Like Nirosh, if I kind of understood to some extent, right? I'm just trying to understand how much I'm understanding it. When a key is generated, right? When the destination actually receives the key, the generated key is not the received key.
Yes, I mean the key generator is not even worried about key. It just shoot a photon. That's all it does, and then create entanglement. So that's the duty of the key generator.
And
it doesn't know what the key is.
So current business application you're telling us that using this process, they generate a key which is used in real world applications.
Yes, the encryption, that's where I think we need to also understand that. Now, there are certain problems associated with sharing a key like this. So that this qubit lost its venom after 63 miles. So when you travel it through a fiber optic cable for more than 60 miles, let's say, then it loses its venom, so that it drops the speed of this rotation.
Okay.
So you need to encourage it to rotate after 63 miles. So how you going?
So some amplification is required. Some amplification is required.
Yes.
To the signal.
Yes. And then one of the problem we have with this kind of a key exchange is still somebody can in the middle can read this key, but he won't be able to understand where this qubit is going to position at the end of this the actual destination server reading. So even though you read it in the middle, you're not going to get the actual key. Then if you can create a copy of that qubit at the time of the reading, then you're going to actually maintain a state that copy maintain the same movement of the original qubit. Then by the time that it reaches the destination, you know where that qubit position. So because of that, you can read it. You can create a copy. But the problem with qubit is you can't create a copy. That's a natural phenomenon.
So the
So
best
probably I think it's kind of I'm just going back to my starting days, right? I used to work in antivirus products, right? So my boss used to say this antivirus and virus is a robber and police game. Some days the robbers win, some days the police win. Okay. So probably till somebody figures out how to copy a qubit is secure.
So, let's assume so. But so far, I didn't remember the name they say for that. It's a natural phenomenon. You can't copy a qubit, but you can create entanglement.
Okay.
So entanglement is copying, no?
No, entanglement is breaking it or separating it in such a way so that once you move them together, there's nothing. So it's like it's like a parallel universe concept, where you have the positive aspect of universe here, whereas there is a negative aspect of a universe somewhere else.
So the best application I've seen it is in science fiction, where you are light years away from each other, but there is entanglement. You can have instant communication now over light years.
Right. So
that is the.
Isn't that the negative of the copy? Simply.
All you do is you read the negative. You see, it's like reading the negative. You have a negative, you say, okay, let me reverse it. That is the message, right?
Yeah.
So you have instant communication. So even if it is coming negative.
So Nitya,
copying the key is also creating another entanglement along the way.
No, I think what he's explaining is probably more complex than what we could understand.
Yeah, I think you're correct, Nitya. But I think from what I understand is, for understanding, we are oversimplifying things.
Yes.
It is not just exactly 1 and minus 1.
Yeah.
It could be minus 1.23. And again, this is a thing when we are understanding, right? We understand it with the knowledge that we have. The opposite of 1 is minus 1. That is our understanding. But what if the opposite of minus 1 is minus 2, minus 3, minus 4.5, minus 6.5? That doesn't exist in our language.
So this is the issue that quantum computer face as well, because what they do right now is they have all these logic gates to convert the qubit into bits, and then only it get interpreted. But how are you going to use it as qubit without worrying about the zeros and ones? That's where the complication is.
I think
the business application is different.
You know, have you all seen that? There used to be one very old movie. It's about something gets dropped from a plane and a Kalahari desert. One bushman will be there.
Yeah.
Gods
must be crazy.
Gods must be crazy, right?
Yes.
So in that, it's like a guy gets a gun, okay, and he will take it and start using it like a hammer instead of shooting it. Okay, so currently we are using.
Yeah, it's a bottle.
Okay.
Coca-Cola bottle.
Yes, it's a Coca-Cola
So I think it's
bottle.
like we are taking quantum things and then converting it into a bit and using it. It's still useful, but that's not the actual use of it.
Yes.
Okay.
So what they say is, I can't explain this, but this is something that I read. Let's say that you have 3 cards. One has a king.
Okay.
Other 2 cards are blank. Now you just randomly move those cards. You just shuffle it, and then ask a quantum computer to guess which card has the
King. Okay.
That one will tell it the first attempt itself every time.
Interesting.
But a natural computer, based on the probability theory, you will arrive at some some percentage probability of getting it right using a natural computer. And the other part is now there are like little bit of challenges now, so that when it comes to securing data at this point of time, using the power of quantum computers, what we do is we have a technical a set of algorithms called post-quantum encryption algorithms. Before the quantum algorithms come, so you use post-quantum encryption algorithms. And in order to generate the key to encrypt data using those post-quantum encryption algorithms, you use a quantum computer. So that's the business application at this point of time. This particular fiber optic cable.
Let me ask a sort of a random question. What is the guarantee that the post quantum is really post quantum? It could be any hokum. If we don't understand it, they can say, "Oh, you just pick up this key and this is post quantum." How do I really know? They can say anything they want. Yes, especially for people like me who don't understand the mathematics behind it or the quantum theory behind it. You can tell me, "Oh, you use this is post quantum. Quantum computer cannot de-encrypt it," right? How do I believe all that stuff?
Yes, that's a very, very interesting question. And in our team, there is a guy from US Navy security working with us in this team. One of the team members is a former US Navy security person. He had the same question. He asked the same question from them, and the answer we got is it's been certified by.
Trust me. It is. I am whatever that in India we call it the ISI certified. Or the Bureau of Indian Standards has certified that this is a post-quantum algorithm. Still,
I think it's still good. It's still good. We start somewhere. We got to start somewhere, right?
Yeah. I'm just making light of it, but there is a serious intent behind it. Is that if we are trying to sell this idea to people that there is something called post quantum, we need to have serious argument behind it and to be able to explain and convince people that this is real post quantum, because quantum still doesn't exist as much as we would like to see that. Okay, this is a real threat. And
I think one thing which when I kind of hear this, right, I've just heard of it. Now I'm just thinking, it's something like your Y2K problem, what we are looking at, right? Y2K is not alive on 1999 December 31st, 12:59 p.m. No problem. Everything in the world is good. Okay. 1 second later, when it became 2000, all the things will stop working. Now, this quantum thing is something like that. The moment it has even accessible to even 1% of the public outside, it renders 99% of the IT systems toothless. Anybody can go into any system. No phones are secure. No laptop is secure. No communication is secure. And it's actually like a dead kill switch. You kill IT system even if 1% of the population has access to this technology. Would I be right, Nirosh?
Yes, that's the threat, because at this point of time, if you collect all this data and store them in somewhere, as I said before, until you get hold of a quantum computer to crack it, then your credit card is not valid immediately after quantum computer is commercially available. The credit card that you use before the quantum era is not secure immediately after the quantum computer is commercially available.
Wow. Okay.
So see, I understand that threat. That threat is probably real, and my question is, the people who are trying to protect us from this threat, they need to make their content more credible. Credibility is in question right now. That just somebody certifying something doesn't mean anything to me right now. They need to build. I have so many certificates.
You're asking an existential question among mere mortals who claim to have an architecture discussion. How do you get a credible human?
No, I'm not even saying credible human. I'm saying credibility in terms of technology, right? You're trying to promote a product. The product has to be
okay.
credible,
Okay.
right? So they are trying to promote a product for post quantum encryption, right? Is a product. What they're selling is a product for preventing you from that threat. That the point in time
Pulling a
when
fast one on ourselves, claiming that SharePoint is the integration product. Any
yes,
statement shaped like that should not come.
yes. So
Uh,
that's my question. Means
so
No, no,
uh,
that's a
just
very valid.
quantum computing is really
tuning to a
understood.
lighter topic, lighter question, which you can probably help us understand, right? I think as people dealing with changes in technology and a lot of new things happening, I think all of us have a problem. Okay. And I think, Nirosh, you can kind of help us say how you're tackling this. Okay. This is more a human dynamics kind of a question. Okay. Or a business question from a services, that kind of a perspective. Now, this is a thing that all of us get into day in, day out when we are exposed to a new technology that we have to implement, execute. Okay. At a lower level, the CEO had a conversation with another CEO and they said, you know what, we are using this technology, it has made us $1 million. Okay. Then that guy walks in next day and says, hey, Mr. IT guy, come here, please implement it. 1 week I want it done. Looks like they made $1 million. Okay. And I have no even clue that word that you say, sir, can you please repeat that word 2 times? Okay. I don't even know what that word is. Okay. Now, as a team, you are having this problem, correct? I'm sure within your team, people are trying to understand this concept and work and get something delivered and make it happen, right? So to deliver something like a quantum, even if it's a POC demo, okay, forget POC demo, Nirosh. If I have to make a PowerPoint to say how my team can actually help you with this project, right? I don't know how did that challenge. How are you managing as a leader?
Okay. Yeah, that's a very interesting question, but it has to break into a level where you can grasp it. This entire system consists of 23 different software modules, which
Okay.
each one consists of significant amount of development. So some we already have. Now, as an example, as the data center, we're going to use Switzerland-based data center called Fortnox.
Okay. Even before that, right? I'm very curious. I don't know whether you can share it. If possible, you can. Otherwise, you can say I would not be able to. That is perfectly fine. How did you even think of approaching an opportunity like this? How did that happen? Because I think
Okay.
typically none of us would even think of as a services group or organization, right? We wouldn't even think of reaching out for something like this because it's beyond the realm of normal circle of operations. How
Yes.
did that happen? How did that?
Yes. I mean, for average person, there is no real business application. You're talking about a credit card, but for a billionaire. Now you remember, I didn't remember the name of that Indian billionaire, where he was questioned for something. There was a legal case where the government managed to hack into his email and then expose certain things that are not even have anything to do with that case and make him go to jail because of the stuff that they found after hacking into his email. So this is a government trying to do that. It's an organized entity. Billionaires have a problem around security. This is where the business application comes handy.
Okay.
All these rich people only. This solution goes to rich people only. If you don't have $1 million and above wealth, then you're not going to worry about this. But if you are a billionaire, then even the photo that you take after maybe going on a vacation, that photo needs to be secure.
So, and how do you go about within your team, right? Approaching the solution? I'm sure there is a skills challenge, there is a resource challenge. How are you approaching that problem? Because it's a complex technology, right? It's not like, oh, do a Google search, you will find few syntaxes, few samples, and put something together. Definitely that approach won't work for what you're talking about. So
Yes.
from your team, how are you leading your team in this complex journey?
I mean, when you say team, this is multiple teams. I mean,
Okay.
we interface with one team, whereas they have like at least 25 teams working with them. So we're not even talking to them. So that the
Okay.
interface that we deal with when it comes to quantum aspect is one team. But then behind the scene, they have multiple teams. So likewise, what we do at this point of time is the solution is not in place, but what we're trying to do here is we're trying to identify 30,000 feet level solution and then go to the 10,000 level solution, 5,000. Likewise, you go zoom in to the solution, breaking each piece into detail level as possible so that you eventually get to a point where you understand, okay, this is what we need to do. So as an example, when you talk about encrypting data inside the computer, then you need to tap into OS level APIs and understand how the OS work, and then maybe a regular backup is what we do in order to secure data today. So that if you want to secure data in your computer, you just back it up. That's what you do. But then this backing up of data consists of certain amount of security. So how are we going to improve that security? Is there a way to improve that security using this? So likewise, we go about attacking that problem one piece at a time.
What you're trying to basically do is, of the large problem, there is quantum, there is security is one area. Within that area, there are different objects which can be secured. And then you're trying to zoom in into that one specific thing that you can work. So you are currently in the process of zooming into what specific use case itself is too high level or low level. I think at a, let's say, what epic level are we going to focus on that? So that's what you're engaged in, correct? Is
Yes,
that
that is right. Yes. So some of those things involve securing Gmail. So we have a solution for that. So we have come up with a solution to secure Gmail as well as Outlook. So you just have some add-ons, and then so that even the Gmail server cannot read the mails that we share with this technology. So you know that Gmail read the mails, right? You know that.
Sorry, can you
There is a rumor that Gmail read
Yeah.
the mails, so that
Correct.
with this technology you can't. I mean, you will not have Gmail servers reading Google reading Gmail.
So
It's
you're killing the whole purpose of Google then.
Well, that brings a different architectural problem. Maybe I think we are around the end of time. I think that could be another topic for another thing, right? Like, what will be the political motivations to go ahead with something like this, or stifle its implementation, or roadblock it? Because the moment it comes like the gods to be, or the big brother cannot read information anymore, will the big brother let this thing happen? Because he won't be a big brother anymore.
No, Big Brother is going to sell you the service to do this thing.
Okay, so the big brother will still be the
Big Brother will make money for you no matter what.
So it is like this, Kumaran. This is how I look at it. Now, if you look at American athletes, they may be using steroids. They may be using steroids, but the problem could be that the technology that we use to measure the steroid is behind the technology of the steroid. So because of that, you don't measure their version of the steroid they're using in when they run. So
The system is rigged. The system is rigged.
Yes.
excellent.
So you have to have healthy untrust of the system. That's what the thing.
I think that's wow. Thanks, Nirosh. I think this was a truly
Mind blowing.
mind blowing. Yeah, correct. Like literally, I think I'll have to spend the entire week thinking about it and reading more about it, right? And the possibility of things like, I think, the storage, right? Like it reduces by quantum. So probably, like, I recently saw that they came up with a 1 TB micro SD card. Now I was like, wow. But if this quantum is really mastered, then in a SIM card, I don't know what. I don't know, maybe 1,000 terabytes can be there in a micro SIM card, for example, just storage.
Another 10 years.
Yeah, but okay, to kind of one last question, right? From where you are, you have an idea. How is what is the period do you think before this technology hits production? And telling that, right, I think there is something called Ray Kurzweil, the futurist. He talks about singularity, right? How technology proceeds and how it's hard to predict something. And one of the things is the rate of acceleration is actually, it's very hard to predict. Like when I saw Minority Report, okay, and you had this Tom Cruise moving the screens like this and that, right? I thought, cool thing, okay. But 8 years ago, Kinect made it possible at a common man. At $150, a Kinect camera, I could do the same thing without writing a line of code. Okay, so how quickly, it's really hard. But then your general feeling, how many years before you think this is going to hit mainstream?
When you say this is going to be available, commercially available, right?
Yeah, correct.
Yeah,
Both quantum and post-quantum.
This is going to take time because you need to define everything in quantum form before you put that into commercial. But then all these super powers like Google, Facebook, and those people are already using most of it.
Okay, so I mean, like 10 years could be
we think it's about 20 to 30 years. I don't know.
The first application itself?
First, applications are already there. There are problems, as I explained. So that once you have that infrastructure, you will see the stuff getting applied. But when I say quantum computer commercially available, you need to think it from quantum form before you do something commercially with a quantum computer. So that's where the challenge at this point of time. So that how are you going to make use of this moving positions? How are you going to, because you can't think it from big form. It's a different paradigm altogether.
Nice. Great, Nirosh. Any of you have any other questions for Nirosh?
So one thought here. So basically, even like, with the primitive same type of technologies that we have today, 5G technology, it is not moving that fast for a common man. But then again, like, in terms of industry and things like that, it is much suited, right? Like, Amazon or like, Microsoft having these cloud infrastructures. Like there is a huge, the engine that is, keep firing up. It needs a lot of, processing power as well as storage. And I'm pretty sure, like, it's going to be used, even started maybe, like, so nobody maybe is talking about it. That may be the edge at this point. But like, maybe coming to like, to the level of, usage like credit card may not be the case anytime soon, is it?
Right now, what I'm hearing is that is more solving unstructured problems. That is what the research use case says. This is targeting unstructured problems.
They say, like, even sometimes like this fast food, I mean, some kind of like this, some of these technologies that we use today is actually used for the astronauts in NASA sometimes back. Right? So it's all like, it's used for like maybe defense. It's used for, the technology will be used for that kind of like solving big problems. Eventually it will actually like
before coming to the common man. True.
Consumers.
Yeah. I think internet also kind of started that way.
Yeah, one thing I would agree on this. It's like I was seeing this series, Person of Interest. Okay. Yeah, I was thinking like, is it even possible? And then like I mean like when again seeing movie Snowden, it kind of put that perspective saying like it's already there. NASA is
Already
doing
there.
it. Yeah, so they can kind of do the surveillance using your own devices without even switching on the camera or mic. So that's already there. I couldn't possibly think about how this is going to influence this whole quantum thing. How this is going to influence the governments and people with power and applications.
I can tell, 10 years ago, sitting on a conference, beer with the professor or some program in Cambridge. So they were talking about actually it's not viable for anybody at that point. Not too long ago, just about 10 years ago.
Yeah.
So by the time 10 years later, we are already talking about companies testing out stuff, right? So there is a level of deceit also possible.
And I think, and there's so many things, right? Like Elon Musk, I remember seeing a video about a year back and he was literally crying. His heroes in NASA kind of said, how can private companies go to space? It's not commercially viable. Technology is too bad. Now NASA is telling, Elon Musk is my partner. With them, we are able to do it, right? And it didn't take him a decade, exactly roughly 10 years to make that happen, right? Private company launching. So it's interesting times ahead. And I think we are one of the blessed generations, right? I start off when I remember as a child to see a weekend movie, I have to go, there'll be one TV in the entire street and everybody will get crammed into that Saturday night or Sunday night to sit in that house to see that black and white movie on a Sunday evening. Okay. To the extent where we are now, where I'm having a set-top box, I have Sky, I have TV channels, right? I think we are a blessed generation. For example, my kid, it will not enjoy it that much. It started off with 500 kbps. Now it's 50 mbps. Big deal. Okay, it's fine, but it's okay. It's not like wow kind of a thing. So it's interesting. But you were talking about cards, that the computer can predict if there are 3 cards which is there. Okay, I have something to show you guys. Okay, one second, let me just switch off this virtual thing that kind of messes up this. So this is an experiment I'm going to try. Okay, so I have to position this correctly. You see these 2 cards, right? 2 dice, 3 dice. Okay, so let's start with Nirosh itself. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, Nirosh, I'm going to keep shuffling these cards. Okay, so I have the 2 of dice and the 3 of dice. Okay, now I'm going to hold 1 card here. Okay, now I want you to tell me which is the card that I'm holding. I am telling the card that you are going to choose is the card that I have selected. That's a 50-50 probability.
Zoom in on his glasses.
Okay.
This is Bollywood.
So Nirosh, is it a 2 dice or a 3 dice?
I'll guess 2 diamond.
2 diamond. You want to change your mind or you're sure about it? You want to change?
No,
you still have a chance. You can change or you can hold it.
No, I'll hold
think
it.
you change it.
No, I'm holding it now. He can change it. I'm still holding it right in front. 2 dice
No,
or
I'm
3
not going
dice?
to change it. I'm not going to change it. 2 diamond.
Okay. Can you see that? Oops.
No,
2 diamond. Yeah, it is 2 diamond.
Okay, so let's try again. So that is 1 in 50 chance, right? We'll try one more time. Okay, I've selected my card. What is it?
Kumaran, you didn't change the cards, right?
Doesn't matter. He can change.
No,
Oh, it's his choice. He's still not yet decided.
Out of the view, your other hand is not viewable.
Okay.
So you could actually have another set of cards below.
Okay.
See, nobody trusts you.
Sorry,
Kumar.
okay.
Nobody trusts
I'll
you.
hold that other card also. Okay.
2 diamond.
You're holding a 2 diamond, right? You're sure?
Yes.
You want to change? You can change.
No, I'm not going to say.
2 diamonds.
Yes.
So that is like the 100% hit rate.
Yeah. You guys are convinced, or you want another one? You want to go
Do
another
another one.
try?
Do another one. Let us do best of threes.
Best of threes. Okay, fine. 1 second. I'll keep both the cards so that Nitto will not call me a cheater. Okay. So, Nirosh, go again. 2
Three
diamonds or 3 diamonds?
3 diamond.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah.
3 diamonds. So this is 100% hit rate.
So, see, this is quantum, man. Okay. Now, this goes on to, so this is some of the things which I've been practicing something. Okay. Because of that, I get it. Now, this is a secret of architects. I expect all of you to, I'm going to stop recording.